Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart. Please join in singing opening hymn number 361 in the great hymnal, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Please stand if you're able. Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Milton. For those who don't know me, my name is Amy Cavadlo. I am a member of our worship committee. If you are having trouble hearing us, please raise your hand here in the meeting house or message us in the chat function of Zoom. We are so glad that you have chosen to be here with us this morning or to join us virtually. As we say here, however your journey, whatever your heritage, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. Your presence here on Sunday morning enriches worship for everyone. This sanctuary is made holy by your presence. If you are joining us for the first time, a special welcome. You will find information about First Parish in your pew. One of the greeters or I would be happy to answer any questions you might have, and any of us would welcome the opportunity to walk with you to social hour after the service. I just want to stop to thank everyone today for their participation in the service, thanking you in advance. And a special shout out to Ed Leland, who is on electric guitar, which is different for us. The work of living our faith is done both in and out of worship, so I call your attention to the printed announcements that came with your order of worship or found in your emailed link. In particular, there are 2 items of note. You know me with papers, drowning in them. Okay. Within and without the church and beyond, the All-Church Council is scheduled for this Friday, October 4th, from 6 to 8 p.m. Please join the committee chairs to discuss how committees can advance our church priorities, like the new UU values, climate change, RE programming, in the coming church year. A light supper will be served. Please let Jen Pincus know by Wednesday if you'll be attending so she can order enough food. Thank you. The other announcement is that from 1 to 3 today, the Social Action Committee is shepherding us in a Get Out the Vote postcard project. The goal is to be able to send out 500 postcards today. So as many people as possible, your presence would be welcome, and at least it'll give you a feeling of doing something. Okay. Now, let us take a few minutes to greet one another and extend a warm welcome to old friends and new. For those on Zoom, please turn on your video, go to gallery view so you can say hello to others.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, Mallory. How you doing?
I'm excellent. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
The first day at Mainspring worked out okay. No trouble.
Good. Good.
A
Glad
late
to hear
start.
that.
So you were off for a couple of months. You're heading out somewhere?
Not for a couple months. I'm going in October. I'm going to England.
Oh, wow. Nice. Very nice.
So going to celebrate an eventful birthday. Let's put it
we
that
won't,
way.
you
One
know,
of those decade ones.
50 is a tough one. I understand. Yeah, so.
Oh, if only.
Yeah. I've had a few eventful ones. Yeah, they come up quick.
Yes, they do. Anyhow, so I'm off to England to meet up with some friends, and then I'm taking the Queen Mary 2 home.
Wow.
Really fun.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm excited.
Yeah. So, yeah, we came across in the SS America when I was a young kid. My parents went to Ireland.
So
and
great.
we
So
went-
great to see everyone enjoying each other's company. So
All right.
please continue this at social hour.
Boy.
Thank you. Okay. Now is the moment when we can focus on being here, when we can choose to connect with ourselves and with the divine, when we can choose to just be present. I'm going to invite Ed up to light the chalice. Each Sunday, we light the chalice as a reminder that even in an increasingly unpredictable world, the flame continues to shine, a corner of warmth and awareness where we, the members of this faith community, can find comfort, support, and connection to one another. And now, please join in the call to worship, which is on the laminated card in your pew. Come, let us gather. We gather to celebrate the sacred within and among us. We come to seek spiritual growth and unfolding. We strive to practice acceptance, forgiveness, and love. Together, we work to build a world with justice and compassion. Come, let us gather together.
Good morning. There, way down. I was telling Reverend Lisa that of all the things I've done for this church, the Story for All Ages has never been one before, so here we go. So I am tasked with telling the story of what is GA. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, is that a story? And my answer was yes. It most definitely is a story. And I know last year when we had all of the conversations about Article 2, we talked about it, and the story still continues. So GA is an acronym for General Assembly. You are part of more than just this congregation, even if you don't think about it. You're part of a denomination. The current iteration of our association started in 1961 when the Unitarians and the Universalists merged. And shortly after that, we started having these annual gatherings called General Assemblies. And the shortest version is, GA is when we get our work done. Now, I was never a political wonk. Even though I went to Model Congress as a teenager, I found Robert's Rules of Order really hard to wrap my brain around. And yet, when I came to this church, I started being the person who really wanted to go to GA. And it took me a while, again, to wrap my brain around Robert's Rules of Order, but it's a tool. So the shortest version is GA every year, and one year they're in person, the next year they're virtual. They used to all be in person, but now they've changed the model so that attendance can be fairer, because it costs money to go places. So this is the way we do it. Every year we get together. And Ellen very nicely shared some statistics with me that this year there were 2,757 delegates, people like you, from all over the country who came together virtually, because this year was virtual. There were 734 congregations, and all 50 states were represented. So that's really cool. The short version is it's where we pass our business propositions, for lack of a better word. We put our values on the line, and we vote on what matters to us. I have been a delegate for many years, although the irony is I was not a delegate this year. But so here's the story part. To me, the hook is community and connection. And that is what you get here, and that is what you have in the denomination. And that is why GA matters so much to me. I hope more of you will go to GA sometime, whether virtually or in person. Next year it's in Baltimore. Come on, you could go to Baltimore and represent this church. And the last image I want to leave with you is the first time I went to GA, which was in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. And I walked into the ballroom, and there were hundreds of other UUs. It is the most amazing experience. So that's General Assembly, and you're part of it. Thank you. And now we're going to sing our kids off to their programs.
Can everybody hear me all right? Okay, that's the first practice of inclusivity. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Good, perfect. Hello, my name is Diana Wilson. I am a white woman with long, light brown hair. I am wearing a Barbie t-shirt and pink Crocs to match. And I have flowered capri pants on. Now, why am I telling you so many details about myself? During GA, we had to all practice inclusivity. So if you were talking, you identified yourself and you talked about what you were wearing and what you looked like for anyone who might be visually impaired and couldn't access that information. I thought maybe my coworkers were going to come up here and identify themselves too, but I guess when they get up here, they will do that. So everybody who came to GA did that kind of description if they were going to talk. Hi, Bill, come on in. So it's very different to be able to do that for yourself. I want you to think about how you would identify yourself, because pretty soon we're going to put you on the spot. Not all of you, but you could volunteer to identify yourself in front of us. That would be great. But just think about that. I work in the Boston Public Schools, which normally doesn't break for summer until late June. The General Assembly takes place 2/3 of the way through June. Therefore, I am usually unable to participate. This year, due to my medical leave, I was able to Zoom in. There are 4 delegates from your church, and I personally was the only one who hadn't been to a GA before, so it was all new to me. So we are going to be talking about practices that promote everyone feeling welcome at the General Assembly. They laid the ground rules so everyone could try to be fair, just, congenial, and diplomatic. This is an even harder task to bear and more imperative since we were doing our whole GA on Zoom. The Mod Squad laid down the rules before we began. Before you speak, ask yourself, is this respectful? Listen, understand, and do not pass judgment, if possible. Use the format for me when making an opinion statement. For me, if you're going to make an opinion statement. Act as if you are entering a business meeting. We enter with love. So then how do you identify yourself at the beginning of your talk? Oops, excuse me. Here is one way that someone did that. I am a round-faced crone, aged 70, who smells bad and is wearing a shabby dress. Would you ever? Would you ever? Anyway, so some people got carried away in their description. Some people used where they were, what kind of lands they were on, if they were originally native lands. Some people used their gender identities. Some people didn't like using their gender identity, so it was a whole realm of things that you could use to identify yourself. Now, I'm supposed to pass around a microphone. I don't know if I can use that one or not. Do you have a portable one I can use? Should have asked beforehand. Could be my guinea pig. I'm going to ask, who would like to identify themselves? Is this? It's on. Would you be so kind, Leslie, to identify yourself?
Why, yes, I would. I didn't see this coming at all. In fact, at GA, I have done this, and I would say things like, I am a female presenting person, older woman, very short, with long gray hair, and I use she, her pronouns. I usually keep it simple.
Would anyone else have the nerve or be interested in identifying themselves in front of the group? Dan, would you try it, Dan? I think you have to come up here, though, Dan. If you'd be so kind. Are you my next victim? Richard? No? Looked like you might have raised your hand, no?
Hello. Yeah, I'm a middle-aged white dude, kind of schlumpy, dressed in not so schmutzy work clothes, have poor posture and kind of a droopy face and glasses. Can you picture what I look like now?
All right, Dan. Oh, good. Deb's going to give it a whirl. Thank you, Deb. Anyone else want to be after Deb? Oh, perfect, perfect. Thank you, Deb.
I'm a tall, thin lady who walks with a limp and raises my hand only this far.
And very beautiful. Would you like to come up?
I'm an 82-year-old Methodist. Rosemary Zander. New Jersey is my original and basically forever home. I moved here. Well, that's not quite true. I went to school in Michigan for my bachelor's degree and 2 years here at Simmons in the mid-'60s with Louisa Day Hicks. Interesting times in Boston. Getting my master's degree in social work at Simmons. So I had 2 years background here before I came. Father and grandfather, both Methodist ministers. I was raised in that church, loved church music, looked around here, didn't find a local Methodist church that was, didn't feel right, came here on a relative who lives here in Milton. Her recommendation that this is the best music around. And where's Tim? Tim puts up with me, as does the choir, and it is indeed a terrific place to celebrate our religious heritage and to be inclusive. I appreciate the inclusiveness I felt here.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. Thank you. Thank you to my guinea pigs. I really appreciate that. I think that's all I have. Who's the next victim?
My name is Jim May. I am a medium height white man of advancing but not yet advanced age. I'm wearing khaki pants and a checked or plaid shirt, depending on your perspective, I guess. There's another important part of what GA used to promote inclusivity, and it's called progressive stacking. It's a practice that was used widely in the Wall Street demonstrations, Occupy Wall Street a few years ago, and has gathered supporters in a number of organizations as a way to assure that members of the organization or participants in a discussion who are from marginalized communities may speak and be assured that they are heard. Progressive stacking can take different forms depending on what issue you're talking about or what kind of organization you are a part of. But at GA, it worked this way. For each resolution or issue that was to be voted on, 2 lines were formed. Now remember, this year we were virtual, and so virtual lines were formed. one in favor of a resolution and one for those who are opposed to the resolution. Typically, 3 slots were reserved at GA, and the number can vary depending on what parameters are set up by the organizing group. But typically we had 3 speakers slots for speakers who were from marginalized communities. The remaining speakers lined up in the order of their arrival at the line, and there was a staff person or volunteer who monitored the line formation based on the speaker's self-identification. And of course, this was an especially important person because forming a virtual line is not quite the same as forming a physical line in a room. Which communities are considered marginalized may differ from organization to organization or from topic to topic, as I mentioned. At GA, regardless of the topic of discussion, marginalized communities included BIPOC or Black and other people of color, LGBTQ AI plus individuals, individuals with physical and intellectual challenges, those whose age or size disadvantaged them, as well as others who experience marginalization for other reasons. Progressive stacking assured that people whose voices may not have been heard in the past could not be ignored in these discussions. The effect was strengthened by strict adherence to time limits set in advance, both for individual speakers and for the discussion at hand. This was an effective tool throughout GA, and I think with my experience, it was very, it achieved the goal of assuring participation and attention to people from marginalized communities.
Hello, I'm Ellen Barr, and I'm a tall but shrinking white woman in my 70s. I'm wearing a flowered shirt and black pants. And I want to talk to you this morning about how disability justice was shown throughout GA. On every event, there were signers. So for the hearing impaired, that was always an option. The self-descriptions for the visually impaired and captions on every streamed event. In addition, this year, the most featured speaker, the Ware lecturer, spoke on the topic of disability justice. What is this Ware lecture? Have you heard of it before? I think of it as the crown jewel of GA. It's given on the Saturday evening of the 5-day event. Each GA, the Ware lecture, is delivered by a prestigious guest invited by the UUA president and someone who is known for impacting progressive civic or religious life. I learned that this tradition started in 1922 thanks to a $5,000 contribution from a person named Harriet E. Ware from Milton, Massachusetts. Previous Ware lecturers included Reverend Martin Luther King, Kurt Vonnegut, Krista Tibbett, Ibu Patel, Dr. Ibram X. Kendi, and poet Mary Oliver. So this year, the Ware lecture was delivered by Julia Watts Belser, Well, she's a rabbi, a scholar, a spiritual teacher, as well as a long-time activist for disability justice. Her lecture, accompanied by slides of beautiful disability artwork, was a plea for opening up our hearts and our congregations, for working to stop the stigmatizing of disability and to recognize disability as a justice issue. Thank you.
The most significant action taken at GA this summer was the adoption of a revised Article 2 of the UUA bylaws. What is Article 2? We've spent many months discussing this in this congregation, but when you boil it all down, it's first of all a description of the organization that is used in its bylaws to establish what the organization is and what it does. But more important, it's what we say about ourselves to the world. Why was it revised? The UUA bylaws require periodic review and revision. The last complete revision was done in 1987. Since then, especially in the last decade or so, the number of proposed revisions resulted in a widely held belief that the entire article should be reviewed. That final review process, which could be traced back to as early as 2006 or so, formally began with the creation of a study commission in 2021. The mandate was to submit a draft to GA in 2023 for approval for consideration, and then for final consideration in 2024. The primary amendment process took place before and during the 2023 GA in Pittsburgh. Further revision took place during the year before this year's GA through a detailed process. During that time period, our congregation conducted its own review that concluded with a unanimous vote in favor of the revised article at our annual meeting in May. 4 proposed amendments remain to be considered at GA this year, one of which was adopted. The final revision expanded the scope of core UUA responsibilities and recast the 8 principles that many of us are quite familiar with into the form of 6 values flowing from the central value of love. These values are justice, equality, interdependence, transformation, pluralism, and generosity. A rule had been set some time ago, some years ago, that the final version would need to be adopted by a two-thirds majority of the delegates, and the final version this year was adopted with the approval of 80% of the delegates. We're not here today to go into the ins and outs of what Article 2 did and what the changes were. We've discussed that a lot, but there will be opportunities to have discussions further for those who are interested in more detail than we can cover today. Now could we stand as you're willing and able and sing hymn 1017 in the Teal hymnal.
you like how the words of these hymns that we sing weave through our talk about the GA? I love it. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. And the earlier one that we sang too had another one, if I have it written down, a verse in the opening hymn, don't be afraid of some change. So there you go. So I'm here to talk about actions of immediate witness. That's quite a mouthful. AIWs. These are topics that churches sponsor to bring to the attention of all Unitarian Universalists worldwide. These are issues that the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, encourages you to pay attention to. Number one, there's 3 of them. I'm just going to say their names, and I'm not going to talk too much about them, but other than, I believe all 3 passed. Do you remember, Ellen? All 3 passed. So the first one was World on Fire, and this was talking about humanitarian work due to climate change on Earth. Number 2 was solidarity with the Palestinians. As you can imagine, this was a very controversial topic. Some of the things said, Israel is not Judaism. Judaism is so much bigger than that, and the violence of 10/7 by Hamas spurned all of this, stimulated all of this. So it was, lots of people got to say pros and cons. And that passed. The number on that was 73, so passing vote affirming 73.5% affirmation of it, and not affirming was 26.5% of all the delegates. Number 3 was centering love amidst COVID-19's impact, and that was affirmed by 86.1% and not affirmed by 13.9%. Okay. Next. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to talk about Mosaic. And I don't know how many people in the congregation are familiar with Mosaic. We became familiar with it when we were working on racial justice because of the resource library that we were able to access at the Mosaic site. The entire GA was justice. Social justice, environmental justice, disability justice, humanity justice. And as delegates to GA, we had many options to choose from. And I focused on events and workshops having to do with racial justice. Something new to General Assembly this year, and I think it came about as due to the virtual nature of it, was cohort gatherings. I had to look up the word cohort because I wasn't sure what it was even referring to. But it was there were 3-day workshops, and there were 14 different groups. So the idea was to attract people who shared common interests. There were cohort gatherings for environment, for congregational leadership, for staffing, for stewardship, for many different topics. And I think we all experimented a little bit with these cohort gatherings. I chose the one that was entitled Mosaic, Living Our Anti-Racist Multicultural Commitments. I was already familiar with Mosaic, and so I wanted to, see if I could learn more. And over 3 days, there were hour-long sessions that included a presentation by Mosaic leaders. This is a team in the UUA. and breakout sessions for participants to share ideas. I got to share our bridging dinners and our breakout sessions, our community connections, and our congregational conversations. And I got to hear about other congregations. What an impressive number of activities we UUs are involved with. With AIWs to vote for, a change to our bylaws to consider, workshops, featured speakers and services, there was so much to do, to learn from, and think about for First Parish Milton. And I encourage all of you to think about going to GA at some point.
Mary Blanchette wanted me to share this interesting piece of information. The cabinet that the chalice is on was actually donated by the Wares, and it is carved with that information. I don't think any of us would have known that. It is a very beautiful piece. Let us take this time together to be open to forgiveness and be forgiven. Let us be open to diversity and be accepted. Let us be open to expression and be understood. Let us be open to compassion and be loved. Let us be open to awareness and be known. Let us be open to sharing, to exchange, to possibility, to awakening, and be hopeful. Let us be open to gratitude and be blessed. Let us also say prayers for all of the thousands and thousands of people who are suffering so terribly by this extraordinary hurricane in the southeast. Amen. Please join, if able, in singing hymn number 1064, Blue Boat Home, in the teal hymnal.
Thank
I'd like to invite Cynthia Guys up to talk to us about our offering.
Good morning, all. Hi. Don't you love that song? That song just reaches in my heart. Excuse me. Okay. I am a active senior, and I am Chinese American, and I have glasses and black hair and a printed top and black pants. And I used to work at the Commission for the Blind, so I know the importance of this. Okay, question for everyone. And I want you to raise your hand, how many of you have some election stress this upcoming one? No surprise. Okay, so today I want to tell you about Reclaim Our Vote, which many of you know about already. During the 2020 election, this church sent over 1,000 postcards to people throughout the country to encourage them to vote. Reclaim Our Vote is a grassroots, primarily volunteer-run campaign that focuses on increasing BIPOC voter turnout through postcards, texts, and phone banking. They work with local color-led organizations in their target areas to develop successful strategies, such as providing information on early voting locations and times, registration deadlines, and information to get free rides to the polls. So, there are 2 ways you can support this organization today. The first is to donate through our Share the Plate, which I think sometimes is on that screen. And there's a card in the pew and also in your church bulletin. The second is to join us in the Parish Hall today. As Amy had said, we are having an event between 1 and 3 o'clock. We will be writing to infrequent voters in Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, and Texas. Please join us as we put our beliefs into action. I love that phrase. Our beliefs into action. Reduce some election stress, socialize with friends, and have some yummy snacks to sustain us. We are hoping to fill out, this is very ambitious, 500 postcards in 2 hours. So feel free to bring a friend or a neighbor. One second, let me finish, and then you can. Chances are there might be opportunities to bring some home to fill out in the future. If you have any questions, ask Deb Larson-Venable or Ellen Barr or me. If you have anything you want to talk about or ask, and hope to see you later. Thank you. And yes. So there is a postcard, and they will give you addresses, and you will write the addresses. And on the left side, there is 2 or 3 sentences, maybe 2 sentences. No, you are writing it, and when I have done it, there's a little sticker you put on that tells you where you are to go to vote or whatever, or if you want more information. So you were writing, then there's a little sticker, and then you were writing, and then you say, Cynthia, volunteer. It's like 2 sentences. Yeah, there's a piece of paper. It gives you all the directions. It's pretty simple. Okay, thank you.
So today's offering will go to this organization that Cynthia just talked about, Reclaim Our Vote. How to give, simply text 617-539-7576 with the amount you'd like to give, or feel free to leave cash or checks in the collection plate, either in front or back of the church. It's a very important organization, as you know, so please give generously.
Bless this house, O Lord, we pray. Make it safe by night and day. Bless these walls so firm and stout, keeping want and trouble out. Bless the roof and chimney stone. Let thy peace lie over all. Bless this door that it may prove ever open to joy and love. Bless these windows shining bright, letting in God's heavenly light. Bless the hearth a-blazing there, with smoke ascending like a prayer. Bless the folk who gather here, keep them pure and free from fear. Bless us so that each day we dwell in love and peace with thee. Bless us so that each day we may dwell in love with thee.
Please join in saying the unison dedication, which is text number 4 on the laminated page. May these gifts be transformed into strength for this community, into comfort, food, and shelter for those in need. And may we be transformed by generosity. And please rise, if you're able, for the doxology.
Please be seated. I have the pleasure of giving the benediction. This is a poem written by Joe Cherry, who was an interim minister of First Parish in Brookline, Mass. It is called Prayer for the Lamp Keeper. My prayer for you today is that you understand that you cannot be and say everything, that you are a light, a lamp in the night to help people find their way, but you cannot be their way. Remember also that a steady lamp by which others may guide their own journey is a gift from and to the universe. Be steady, but do not deny your own humanity. Do not forget to take breaks. Do not let your desire to be that steward of the lamp keep you from your own journey. Share the burden, share the responsibility, share the honor with others. By Joe Cherry. Have a good week. It's going to be stressful. Hang on for the ride, and thank you for coming.